On December 24th, Marina found a wrapped box at the door of her humble home. No one had seen who left it. No one knew what was inside. But what she discovered in that gift would change her life forever. It would reveal a painful secret about her family that had been hidden for more than 30 years. It would destroy all her certainties about who she really was, and it would lead her into the arms of the only man who had always seen her true essence. Inside that box was the truth. A truth that someone very close to her had known for months, but chose to reveal in the most surprising way possible. Get ready, because this story is going to move you from start to finish. And before we begin, tell me here in the comments, what city are you watching this incredible story from? I love knowing where you guys are from. Now then, let's start from the beginning. Marina was 32 years old when this story began. She lived alone in a simple, cozy house on the outskirts of a small town. The house was modest, with walls that needed a fresh coat of paint, a small but well-kept garden where she grew red roses, and a porch where she liked to sit on Sunday afternoons to drink coffee and watch the quiet movement of the street. Marina worked as a cook in a small family restaurant downtown. She woke up every day at 5 in the morning, made her black coffee without sugar, put on her simple uniform, and walked 15 minutes to the bus stop. The work was exhausting, but she loved cooking. She loved seeing people's smiles when they tasted her dishes. She loved transforming simple ingredients into something special. She lived with the essentials. She had no luxuries. She had nothing left over at the end of the month. But she didn't lack anything either. It was a simple life, honest, dignified. However, there was something about Marina that caught the attention of everyone who knew her. It wasn't her physical beauty, although she had a delicate face and deep brown eyes that seemed to hold 1,000 stories. What really shone in Marina was her natural kindness. Her genuine gentleness. The way she smiled at everyone, no matter who they were. The way she helped elderly neighbors carry their groceries. The way she fed the stray dogs that showed up at her gate. Marina had a huge heart. A heart that, despite carrying deep pain, never hardened. Because Marina had no family. Or at least, she had no memories of family. She grew up in a public orphanage since she was a baby. She never met her parents. She had no siblings. No uncles, grandparents, cousins. Nothing. No one. When she turned 18, she left the orphanage with a backpack on her shoulders, some donated clothes, and a painful certainty that had echoed inside her chest since childhood: she had been abandoned. No one ever wanted her. No one ever came back for her. And for many years, Marina carried that wound in silence. She didn't talk about it. She didn't cry in public. She didn't play the victim. But every night, before falling asleep, she stared at the dark ceiling of her room and asked herself the same questions. Why? Who were they? Were they still alive? Did they think about her? The questions never had answers. And over time, Marina learned to live with that emptiness. But then, something started to change. And that something had a name: Raphael. Raphael had been living in the house next to Marina's for almost 6 years. He was 38 years old, a carpenter, and had lived alone since losing his wife in a tragic car accident 5 years earlier. Raphael was a man of few words. Tall, broad-shouldered, hands calloused from working with wood so much. He had dark eyes and a serious expression that could intimidate anyone who didn't know him well. But beneath that rough exterior, Raphael had a sensitive heart. A heart that still bled for the loss of the woman he loved. In the first few years living next to Marina, Raphael barely spoke to her. A polite greeting now and then. A nod of the head when leaving the house. Nothing more. He was immersed in his work. He woke up early, went to the workshop he had set up in the back of the house, and spent hours creating handcrafted furniture. At night, he went back inside, ate dinner alone, and disappeared until the next day. But 2 years ago, something changed. Raphael started noticing Marina. It wasn't sudden. It was gradual. Subtle. He noticed that she sang softly while watering the plants every morning. Always the same old song, one of those that grandmothers used to sing. He noticed that she always greeted everyone on the street with a sincere smile. He noticed that she carried heavy shopping bags by herself, but never complained. And little by little, Raphael began to feel something he thought he would never feel again: attraction. Admiration. Curiosity. Who was this woman living next to him? Why did she live alone? Why, sometimes, did he see deep sadness in those brown eyes when she thought no one was watching? And that's how it all started. First, Raphael fixed Marina's gate when it broke after a storm. She tried to pay him, but he refused. "We're neighbors," he said simply. Then, he started bringing fruit from the farmer's market on Saturdays. "I bought too much, will you take some?" he'd say, with a shy half-smile. Then he offered her a ride when he saw her waiting for the bus in the rain. And after a few more rides, it became routine. And little by little, they started talking. At first, short conversations. About the weather. About the neighborhood. About work. But over time, the conversations became longer. Deeper. They started sitting on the curb at the end of the afternoon, when the sun was already setting and the street became quiet. They shared stories. Laughter. Memories. Marina told him about the orphanage. About how hard it was to grow up without references, without roots. Raphael told her about the wife he lost. About how the pain almost destroyed him. And about how he learned to live again, even while carrying that scar. They understood each other. Because both knew the pain of loss. Both knew loneliness. And at some point, without either of them realizing exactly when, they fell in love. Marina felt her heart race every time she saw Raphael coming home. She started fixing her hair before going out to water the plants, hoping he'd be around. She saved the best fruit she bought at the market to share with him. And Raphael? Raphael started making furniture thinking of her. A small bookshelf that would be perfect for her living room. A coffee table with delicate details. He created thinking, would she like this? But neither of them made a move. Raphael because he thought it was still too soon. That maybe Marina didn't feel the same way. That he didn't have the right to love again when he still carried the memory of his wife. And Marina because she didn't think she deserved it. Because she thought she was just the neighbor. The friend. Nothing more. Because she was afraid of giving herself and being abandoned again. So they stayed in that safe zone. Close, but not together. In love, but in silence. Until December came. And with December, came the gift that would change everything. The first week of December was strange for Marina. She noticed that Raphael was different. More distant. More pensive. He still greeted her, still offered her rides when it rained, but there was something in his eyes. A worry. A tension. Marina tried to ask a few times. Is everything okay, Raphael? Yeah. Just work, he'd reply, looking away. But Marina knew it wasn't just work. And then, on a Thursday morning, Marina saw something that made her heart sink. She was leaving for work when she saw a luxury car parked in front of Raphael's house. It was a black sedan, gleaming, the kind she only saw in movies. And next to the car stood a woman. An elegant woman. She wore a well-tailored business dress, high heels, hair pulled back in a perfect bun. She had a designer bag hanging from her arm and large sunglasses covering half her face. Marina stopped at the gate, watching discreetly. The woman knocked on Raphael's door. He opened it. And when he saw who it was, his face changed. He smiled. A smile Marina hadn't seen in a long time. They talked for a few minutes at the door. Marina couldn't hear what they were saying, but she saw Raphael invite the woman inside. The door closed. Marina stood there, her heart tight, feeling something burn in her chest. Was it jealousy? Fear? Insecurity? He has every right to have whoever he wants over, she thought, trying to convince herself. I'm nothing to him. Just the neighbor. But still, it hurt. Marina went to work that day with her mind elsewhere. She burned a pot of rice. She forgot to season the beans. Her boss asked if everything was okay, and she could only manage a weak smile and say yes. But it wasn't. When she got home that night, the luxury car was still there. Marina went into her house quickly, without looking around. And for the first time in months, she didn't sit on the curb waiting for Raphael to show up. Over the next few days, the elegant woman came back twice more. And each time, Marina felt that pain in her chest grow. She tried to distract herself. She cleaned the house from top to bottom. She cooked more than she needed. She watered the plants 3 times a day. But nothing worked. The second time she saw the woman, Marina noticed more details. She was older, maybe in her mid-50s. She had a serious expression, but not cold. And when she left Raphael's house, her eyes were red. Did she cry? Marina thought, confused. But she didn't have the courage to ask Raphael anything. And Raphael didn't mention it either. They still greeted each other. Still exchanged a few words. But there was a distance now. An invisible barrier that hadn't been there before. Marina felt like she was losing him. And it destroyed her inside. But she didn't know what to do. She didn't know what to say. So she just waited. Waited and suffered in silence. Until December 24th arrived. Marina woke up that morning with a heavy heart. It was Christmas Eve. A day that had always been difficult for her. A day that reminded her, more than any other, that she was alone in the world. She got up slowly, made her black coffee, and sat on the porch looking at the empty street. The sky was overcast. It looked like it was going to rain. Marina sighed deeply. Another Christmas, she thought. Another year alone. She tried not to think about Raphael. Tried not to think about the elegant woman. Tried not to think about how nice it would be to have someone to spend this day with. But it was impossible not to think. At 10 in the morning, Marina decided to go to the store to buy some ingredients. She was going to make a simple lunch for herself. Maybe a roasted chicken. Rice. A little salad. Nothing special. But at least it would be something. She grabbed her purse, locked the house, and left. When she returned an hour later, she saw something at the door. A box. A box wrapped in shiny gold paper, with a red satin ribbon tied in a perfect bow. And attached to the ribbon, there was a small white card. Marina dropped the shopping bags on the ground, her heart racing. She looked around. The street was empty. No one nearby. With trembling hands, she picked up the card. It was written by hand, in delicate, feminine handwriting. For Marina. That's all. No last name. No message. No signature. Marina felt her heart skip a beat. Who left this, she thought, looking around again. Could it have been Raphael? The thought came instantly. And with it came a wave of hope that she tried to suppress. No, Marina. Don't get your hopes up, she thought. He's with that woman. He has no reason to give you gifts. But still, the hope persisted. With her hands still trembling, Marina picked up the box and the shopping bags and went inside. She locked the door behind her, as if wanting to protect herself from the outside world. She put the bags in the kitchen, but didn't unpack the groceries. Her attention was completely focused on the golden box. She placed it on the living room table and just stood there, staring at it. The box was beautiful. The wrapping was perfect. Whoever had done this had put care into it. Had taken time. Marina sat down in the chair facing the table. She took a deep breath. And with trembling fingers, she began to undo the red ribbon bow. Marina opened the box slowly, as if afraid of what she might find inside. When she removed the lid, she saw 3 things carefully arranged. An old photograph, yellowed with time, protected by transparent plastic. A birth certificate, carefully folded. And a letter, in a sealed white envelope. Marina picked up the photograph first. Her hands trembled when she saw the image. It was a black and white photo, clearly taken many decades ago. In it, there was a young woman, maybe in her early 20s. She was sitting on a park bench, holding a baby in her arms. The woman was smiling at the camera, but there was sadness in that smile. A deep sadness that crossed time and reached Marina. And the most shocking thing. The woman had features incredibly similar to Marina's. The same deep brown eyes. The same face shape, delicate and oval. The same small mouth. The same dark, straight hair. It was as if Marina was looking at an older version of herself. Who is this woman? Marina whispered to herself, her voice breaking. She turned the photo over. On the back, there was something written in pen, Helena and Marina, 6 months. Marina's heart stopped. Marina. The baby in the photo had her name. No, it can't be, she murmured, her eyes filling with tears. With her hands trembling even more, she picked up the birth certificate. When she opened the official document and read the information, her world collapsed. Name, Marina Silva Santos. Date of birth, June 15, 1992. City, São Paulo. Everything was correct. It was her date of birth. It was her full name. But then her eyes moved down to the following lines. Mother's name, Helena Beatriz Almeida. Father's name, Carlos Eduardo Mendez. Marina dropped the certificate as if it were burning her hands. She had never seen those names before in her life. Never. When she grew up in the orphanage, the staff said she had been left anonymously. That there were no records. That there was no information about her parents. But there it was. A name. 2 names. Helena Beatriz Almeida. Carlos Eduardo Mendez. They exist? Marina thought, her mind spinning. They have names? They're real? The tears began to fall. Marina covered her face with her hands and cried. She cried for all the years she spent wondering who her parents were. She cried for all the nights she slept imagining if they thought about her. She cried for the loneliness. For the abandonment. For the pain. And she cried because, suddenly, everything she thought she knew about her own story was being questioned. After several minutes, Marina wiped her tears with the back of her hands. She needed to read the letter. With trembling fingers, she took the white envelope and opened it carefully. Inside were 2 sheets of paper written by hand, with the same delicate handwriting as the card. Marina began to read. And with each word, her heart broke a little more. The letter said, Marina. If you're reading this, it's because I finally found the courage to do what I should have done a long, long time ago. My name is Helena Beatriz Almeida. I am your mother. I know you grew up in the orphanage. I know you spent your entire life thinking you were abandoned. And I know how much that must have hurt. How much it still hurts. But I need you to know something, my daughter. You weren't abandoned because I didn't want you. You were taken from me. Marina stopped reading. Her heart was beating so hard she could hear it in her own ears. She continued. I was 22 years old when I got pregnant with you. I was young, yes. But I was happy. Because I already loved you before you were even born. Your father, Carlos Eduardo, was a rich man. Very rich. He came from a powerful, influential family. And I was just a waitress at a restaurant where he used to have dinner. We fell in love quickly. Or at least, I fell in love. When I found out I was pregnant, I told him with my heart full of hope. I thought he'd be happy. That we'd build a family together. But he was furious. He said I was trying to trap him. That I wanted his money. That he would never marry someone like me. He offered me money to take care of the problem, as he put it. I refused. I told him I was going to have you. That I would raise you alone if I had to. But that you were going to be born. That you were going to be loved. And that's when everything got worse. Carlos used his family's power and connections to destroy me. He forged documents saying I was unstable. That I used illegal substances. That I wasn't fit to raise a child. All lies. But he had money. He had lawyers. He had influence. And I had nothing. When you were born, I held you in my arms and cried with happiness. You were perfect, Marina. So small, so fragile, but so perfect. I spent 6 months with you. The happiest 6 months of my life. But then, Carlos's lawyers got a court order. They said I wasn't fit to take care of you. That you needed to be put up for adoption. I fought, Marina. I fought with every ounce of strength I had. But it wasn't enough. On the day they came to get you, I begged. I cried. I held on to you as if my life depended on it. But they ripped you from my arms. And I never saw you again. Marina was sobbing now. Tears fell nonstop, wetting the paper. She continued reading. I spent years trying to find you. I spent every penny I could scrape together hiring lawyers, investigators, anyone who could help me. But Carlos had covered his tracks. He had used his power to ensure I'd never find you. Eventually, I gave up. Not because I stopped loving you. But because I had no strength left. Because the pain was too great. I fell into depression. I spent years just surviving. Working. Going home. Sleeping. And repeating it all the next day. Until, a few months ago, something happened. Someone found me. Someone who knew your story. Someone who knows you. Someone who loves you, Marina. This person came to me, told me where you were, and gave me a chance to reconnect with you. I don't have much time, my daughter. I recently found out I'm sick. Very sick. The doctors gave me a few months, maybe a year. And I can't die without you knowing the truth. Without you knowing that I always loved you. That I never stopped thinking about you. That every day of my life was marked by your absence. If you want to meet me, if you want to hear my story, I'll be waiting. The address is at the end of this letter. But if you don't want to, I'll understand. I just wanted you to know the truth. With all the love I've always carried. Helena, your mother. Marina dropped the letter and broke down crying. She cried like she had never cried before. She cried until she had no more tears. She cried until her throat hurt. She cried until her chest burned. She had a mother. A mother who didn't abandon her. A mother who fought for her. A mother who suffered for 32 years carrying the pain of losing her daughter. And she was dying. Marina didn't know how much time passed sitting there, holding that letter, trying to process everything. The sun was already setting when she finally managed to get up. With slow steps, she went to the bathroom, washed her face, and looked at her own reflection in the mirror. And for the first time in her life, she saw her mother looking back. Marina spent the entire night without sleeping. She reread the letter dozens of times. She looked at the old photograph until she memorized every detail. She held the birth certificate as if it were the most precious thing in the world. Because it was. It was proof that she had an origin. That she hadn't been simply discarded. That someone had loved her. But along with the joy, came fear. What if I go there and don't know what to say? Marina thought, lying in bed, staring at the ceiling. What if it's too late? What if she's really dying? And then came another question. A question that left her even more confused. Who was the person who found my mother? Who knew my story? Marina reread the passage from the letter. Someone who knew your story. Someone who knows you. Someone who loves you, Marina. Someone who loves you. Those words echoed in her mind. And then, like lightning, came the image of Raphael. Could it have been him, she thought, her heart racing. But then came doubt. Why would he do that? How would he know? And why wouldn't he tell me? Marina wanted to ask. She wanted to run to his house, knock on the door, and demand answers. But she was afraid. Afraid of the answer. Afraid of being wrong. Afraid of being disappointed. So she remained silent. The next day, which was Christmas, Marina didn't leave the house. Raphael knocked on her door twice. The first time, he asked if she was okay. If she needed anything. Marina answered through the closed door, saying she was just tired. That she needed some time alone. Raphael insisted, worried. Marina, please. Open the door. I just want to know if you're okay. I'm fine, Raphael. Really. I just need to be alone today. There was a long silence on the other side. Okay, he finally said, his voice low. But if you need me, I'm here. Marina leaned her forehead against the door, eyes closed, holding back tears. Thank you, she whispered. And she heard his footsteps walking away. Over the following days, Marina completely withdrew. She stopped sitting on the curb in the afternoons. She stopped accepting rides. She stopped responding when Raphael tried to talk. She was immersed in her own thoughts, trying to gather the courage to do what she needed to do, go find Helena. But there was something holding her back. Fear. Fear of being disappointed. Fear of finding out the story was different from what the letter said. Fear of losing her mother right after finding her. Raphael noticed the distance. And he suffered in silence. He didn't understand what had happened. He didn't know if he had done something wrong. If he had said something that hurt her. He desperately wanted to talk to her. To explain everything. To tell her about Helena. About how he had investigated her past. About how he had done it all out of love. But he had promised Helena he wouldn't tell. That he'd let Marina discover on her own. that he'd respect her time. So he just waited. And suffered. A week after Christmas, Marina made a decision. She was going to look for Helena. She woke up early, took a shower, put on her best outfit, a simple blue cotton dress, and took the birth certificate and the letter. The address was written at the end, 142, Acacia Street, Hope Garden neighborhood. Marina took the bus, her heart beating wildly. The trip took almost an hour. She spent the whole time looking out the window, trying to calm her anxiety. When she finally arrived at the neighborhood, she got off the bus and started walking. It was a simple neighborhood, similar to hers. Small, colorful houses. Quiet streets. Children playing on the sidewalks. Marina found Acacia Street and walked slowly, looking for the number. Number 138. 140. 142. She stopped in front of a small house, painted white, with a narrow porch and flower pots in the windows. She took a deep breath. You can do this, Marina, she told herself. And she knocked on the door. The door opened slowly. And there, in front of Marina, was she. Helena. A woman of approximately 55 years old, with graying hair pulled back in a loose ponytail. She wore a simple cotton blouse and faded jeans. She was thin, too thin, and there were deep circles under her eyes. But when her eyes met Marina's, everything stopped. Time. The world. Breath. Helena covered her mouth with her hands, and tears began to fall instantly. Marina, she whispered, her voice breaking. Marina could only nod, unable to speak. Helena let out a sob and took a step forward, extending her trembling hands. My daughter, my daughter. And then she hugged her. She hugged her with a strength Marina didn't expect. She hugged her as if she were holding the most precious thing in the universe. She hugged her as if she had waited 32 years for that moment. And Marina, who had spent her entire life without knowing a mother's embrace, finally felt it. She felt the warmth. The protection. The unconditional love. And she broke down crying. The two stood there, at the door, embracing, crying together, while the world around them kept spinning. Inside the house, they talked for hours. Helena told everything. Every painful detail. Every moment of suffering. Every frustrated attempt to find Marina. She showed old folders full of documents. Receipts from private investigators. Letters she had written to Marina over the years, but never sent. Marina listened to everything with a broken heart. And then she asked the question that had been burning inside her from the beginning. Mom, who was the person who found you? Who helped you find me? Helena wiped her tears and smiled sadly. A man named Raphael. Marina felt her heart stop. Raphael, she repeated, her voice weak. Yes, Helena confirmed. He came looking for me about 3 months ago. He said he was your neighbor. That he lived next door to your house. Marina covered her mouth with her hands. He came all the way here? Yes. He said he noticed you carried deep sadness. That you always talked about not having family. And he wanted to do something for you. Tears returned to Marina's eyes. Raphael hired a private investigator to discover your story, Helena continued. It was that investigator who found me. And when Raphael came to see me for the first time, he told me everything about you. About how kind you are. How strong you are. How you light up his life. Marina sobbed. He helped me financially to prepare that box, Helena said. He organized everything. The photograph, the certificate, the letter. He even helped me write some parts, because I was so nervous I couldn't get my thoughts in order. Why didn't he tell me? Marina asked, her voice choked. Helena held her daughter's hands. Because he didn't want you to feel indebted to him, my daughter. He said you deserved to know the truth about your family, and that it had nothing to do with him. He wanted you to discover it in your own time. In your own way. Marina covered her face with her hands and cried. He loves me, she whispered. Yes, my daughter, Helena said, also crying. He loves you deeply. Marina spent the rest of the day with Helena. They laughed. They cried. They shared stories. Helena showed more old photographs. She told about her family. About Marina's grandparents, who had already passed away. About how she wished they could have met their granddaughter. And Marina told about her life. About the orphanage. About the difficulties. But also about the small joys. About the work she loved. About the flowers she grew. And about Raphael. When the sun started to set, Marina realized she needed to go. I'll come back, Mom, she promised, hugging Helena at the door. I'll come back always. I'll be here waiting, my daughter, Helena said, caressing Marina's face. Always. Marina took the bus back with her heart overflowing. She had found her mother. She had discovered the truth. And she was certain, absolutely certain, of who the man she loved was. When the bus stopped in her neighborhood, Marina got off running. The sky was already dark. The house lights were on. Marina ran down the street, her heart beating wildly. She needed to see Raphael. She needed to talk to him. She needed to tell him what she felt. When she reached her street, she saw that Raphael's house had the lights on. Without thinking twice, she ran across and knocked on the door. Hard. Urgently. Raphael opened the door, surprised. Marina? What? But he couldn't finish the sentence. Because Marina threw herself into his arms. Raphael held Marina, confused but relieved. Marina, what happened? Are you okay? He asked, worried. Marina pulled back just enough to look into his eyes. She was crying. But this time, they were tears of happiness. Why didn't you tell me? She asked, her voice breaking. Raphael frowned. Tell you what? About the box. About my mother. About everything, Raphael. He closed his eyes and sighed deeply. You found out. Yes, I found out, Marina said, her voice firm but emotional. I went to her house. I met her. And she told me everything. She told me it was you who organized everything. That you gave me my mother back. Raphael opened his eyes and looked at her with a vulnerable expression Marina had never seen before. I didn't know if I was doing the right thing, he admitted, his voice low. I just wanted you to have answers. To know where you came from. To not feel alone anymore. Why, Raphael? Marina asked, taking a step forward. Why did you do all of this for me? Raphael took a deep breath. And then, finally, he said the words he had kept for so long. Because I love you, Marina. Her heart stopped. I've loved you since the first day I saw you, Raphael continued, his voice trembling but firm. I love you for the way you take care of your flowers. For the way you smile even when life is hard. For the way you treat everyone with kindness, even when no one treated you that way. Tears streamed down Marina's face. I love you for the strength you have. For the kindness of your heart. For the light you bring to my life without even realizing it. And when I found out about the pain you carried from not knowing your family, I couldn't just stand by. I wanted to do something. Anything. To take some of that weight off your shoulders. Marina covered her mouth with her hands, sobbing. I didn't tell you because I didn't want you to feel obligated to anything, Raphael said, taking a step forward. I didn't want you to think you had to reciprocate. I just wanted you to be happy, Marina. Even if that happiness didn't include me. Marina shook her head, still crying. You're an idiot, she said, between sobs and laughter. Raphael blinked, surprised. What? You're an idiot for thinking I don't feel the same way, Marina said, wiping her tears. You're an idiot for thinking I could be happy without you. Raphael's heart started beating faster. Marina. I love you, Raphael, she said, looking directly into his eyes. I love you for everything you are. For everything you did. For seeing me when I thought I was invisible. For loving me when I thought it was impossible to be loved. Raphael felt his eyes sting. You gave me my mother back, Marina continued, her voice full of emotion. You gave me answers. You gave me peace. But more than that, you gave me love. A love I never thought I'd deserve. You always deserved it, Raphael said, his voice hoarse. Always. Marina took another step, until she was almost pressed against him. Then kiss me, she whispered. And Raphael didn't hesitate. He held her face with both hands, gently, as if she were the most precious thing in the world. And he kissed her. It was a kiss full of love. Full of promises. Full of everything they had kept for so long. When they finally pulled apart, both were crying. I love you, Raphael whispered, resting his forehead against hers. I love you too, Marina replied, smiling through tears. And for the first time in her life, Marina felt like she was home. The following months were the most intense of Marina's life. She spent every free moment with Helena. They cooked together. They talked about everything. They laughed about memories they never had the chance to create, but that they were building now. Helena taught Marina how to make the chocolate cake that was the family's secret recipe. Marina took Helena to see the restaurant where she worked. She introduced her mother to her coworkers. To the neighbors. To everyone who was part of her life. And Raphael was always by their side. He took them both on outings on Sundays. He helped Helena with repairs around the house. He made custom furniture to make her house more comfortable. And Marina saw, every day, how much Raphael loved not only her, but also her mother. You're a gift, Raphael, Helena told him one day, her eyes full of tears. You gave me my daughter back. There are no words to thank you for that. You don't need to thank me, Raphael replied, holding her hand. I did it because I love your daughter. And because you both deserve to be together. But reality was cruel. Helena's illness was progressing. She was getting weaker. More tired. Thinner. The doctors were clear, there was no cure. It was only a matter of time. Marina knew this. But still, she fought. She spent sleepless nights taking care of her mother. She took Helena to all her appointments. She held her hand during painful treatments. And when Helena had pain crises, Marina sang to her. She sang the same old songs that Helena had sung to Marina when she was a baby. Songs that Helena had taught her in recent weeks. One night in June, exactly 6 months after Christmas, Helena called Marina and Raphael close to the bed. She was very weak. She could barely speak. But she smiled when she saw them. My daughter, she whispered, holding Marina's hand. I'm so grateful for having had these months with you. Don't say that, Mom, Marina said, crying. You're going to be okay. You have to be. Helena shook her head slowly. My time is running out, Marina. And it's okay. It's not. Marina sobbed. It is, my daughter, Helena said, tenderly. Because I had the chance to meet you. To hold you. To tell you how much I love you. And that's more than I could have asked for. She looked at Raphael. Take care of her for me, Helena asked, her voice weak. Always, Raphael promised, tears streaming down his face. Helena smiled. Now I can go in peace, she whispered. And she closed her eyes. Helena passed away that night, with Marina holding her hand. The funeral was simple. Just a few close people. Marina cried like she had never cried. She cried for the mother she had just met. For the mother she had just lost. But even in the pain, there was gratitude. Gratitude for having had those 6 months. For having known the truth. For having been loved. In the following months, Marina slowly rebuilt herself. Raphael was always by her side. Holding her hand. Wiping her tears. Reminding her that she wasn't alone. And little by little, the pain gave way to acceptance. Marina decided to honor Helena's memory in the best way possible. She opened a small homemade food business, specializing in the recipes Helena had taught her. Raphael helped her set everything up. He built the shelves. He made the tables. He painted the walls. And when the small restaurant opened, Marina put a sign at the entrance. Helena's flavors, in memory of a mother who never gave up. 1 year after the Christmas that changed everything. Raphael and Marina were sitting on the curb, as they always did. The sun was setting. The sky was painted orange and pink. Raphael held Marina's hand. Marina. I have a question to ask you. She looked at him, curious. Raphael took a deep breath and pulled a small box from his pocket. When he opened it, Marina saw a simple, delicate, perfect ring. Will you marry me? Raphael asked, his eyes shining with emotion and hope. Marina felt tears run down her face again. Raphael. I know it's still early, he continued, his voice trembling. I know you're still processing everything that happened. But Marina, I don't want to spend another single day of my life without you by my side. You taught me to love again. You showed me it's possible to start over. And I want to build a family with you. The family you always deserved to have. Marina covered her mouth with her hands, sobbing with emotion. You gave me my mother back, she said, her voice choking. You gave me answers. You gave me peace. And more than anything, you loved me when I thought it was impossible to be loved. Raphael held her face with both hands, wiping the tears with his thumbs. So, is that a yes? Marina smiled through tears, her heart overflowing with love. Yes, Raphael. 1,000 times yes. He slid the ring onto her finger, and then pulled her into a tight hug, both crying with happiness. There, on that curb where so many conversations happened, where friendship turned into love, they sealed the promise of a future together. 3 months later, Marina and Raphael got married in a simple and emotional ceremony. It was in the garden where Helena had spent her last months, surrounded only by a few close people. Marina had decorated everything with her mother's favorite flowers, red and white roses. When Marina entered, arm in arm with the owner of the restaurant where she worked, who offered to walk her down the aisle, she felt Helena's presence in every corner. Raphael was at the makeshift altar, under an arch decorated with white and red flowers. When he saw Marina approaching, he felt his heart almost burst with love. She wore a simple white lace dress, no veil, with fresh flowers in her hair. And she smiled in a way that lit up everything around. When they finally stood face to face, Raphael held her hands and whispered, "You look beautiful." "So do you," Marina replied, laughing softly through tears. They exchanged simple vows, but deeply moving. I promise to love you in every moment, Raphael said, his voice firm despite the tears. On good days and difficult ones. I promise to be your safe harbor, your family, your home. And I promise to show you every day how special you are, Marina replied, squeezing his hands. I promise to build with you the family I always dreamed of. I promise to love you until my last breath. And when the officiant said, "You may kiss the bride," Raphael pulled her into a kiss so sweet, so full of love, that all those present applauded and cried together. A year and a half after the wedding, Marina was in the kitchen of the small house she now shared with Raphael. They had renovated everything together, him building custom furniture, her decorating with plants and warm colors. The house was simple, but it was theirs. It was a real home. Marina was stirring a pot of sauce when she felt Raphael's arms wrap around her from behind. That smells good," he said, kissing her neck. It's the recipe my mom taught me," Marina replied, smiling. Special tomato sauce from the Almeida family. Raphael smiled and rested his chin on her shoulder. Marina, I have some news to tell you. What? I got a call today. Remember we signed up for adoption? Marina's heart jumped. Yes. There's a little girl. She's 4 years old. She just arrived at the shelter. And the social worker thinks we'd be perfect for her. Marina dropped the spoon and turned to Raphael, her eyes wide. Really? Really? We can meet her next week. Marina covered her mouth with her hands, tears starting to fall. Are we going to have a daughter? Raphael held her face with both hands. We're going to build the family you always wanted, love. You, me, and our daughter. Marina hugged him tightly, crying with happiness. Thank you, she whispered. Thank you for giving me everything I always dreamed of. And you know what Marina kept forever in a special place in the house? That golden box. The gift she never asked for. But that changed absolutely everything. And that was Marina's story. The woman who found her mother, discovered true love, and learned that sometimes the best gifts in life are those we never asked for, but that arrive exactly when we need them most. Marina learned that family isn't just about blood. It's about who chooses to stay. Who chooses to love. Who chooses to fight for you. And Raphael? Raphael proved that true love doesn't make noise. It acts in silence, behind the scenes, moving mountains without expecting anything in return. If you were moved by this incredible story, if it touched your heart in some way, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss the next stories that will make you cry, smile, and believe in love again. Turn on the notification bell so you're notified whenever I post a new emotional story. And tell me here in the comments, what was the part that moved you the most? What would you do if you were in Marina's place? A big hug, and see you in the next story that will touch your heart.